Now, look, the list does grow if you go to Internet sites to 40, 50, 60, 70. And
I've seen it more than that. I've seen it more than that if you add them all together. Over the last, because, I was seeing lists before the anthrax attacks, before 2007. You may be talking about some of the modern lists, but, take Dr. David Kelly. He sends emails saying, I'll be found dead in the woods if I speak out. He tells friends, he tells people I've interviewed on the show. He is writing a tell-all book on them. Locals come up in the park, see 5 guys in black uniforms run away from his dead body. There's no blood at the scene or very little from slit wrist. There's 3 undissolved pills in his stomach, and they say he died of slitting his wrist in pills. Could my dead body, could I be seen with black ops standing over me with witnesses and still, maybe they could blow my head off on TV and say I killed myself. This is getting ridiculous.
Yeah, well, anything can happen in this modern media age, and I think the story about Kelly is very instructive. Kelly's death has been suspicious from the get-go. In our film, Anthrax-War, we interview a member of Parliament, Norman Baker, who takes a full year off from his responsibilities to investigate Kelly's death. This is no out of mainstream guy. He's a member of the British Parliament, and he ends up writing a book called The Strange Death of David Kelly, and he says David Kelly was murdered. And this is an astounding claim that has just been endorsed by 13 leading British doctors who have petitioned and hired a lawyer to ask that the Brown government in England, which is now considering a review of the Blair policies that led to the war in Iraq. They have 4 areas they want to investigate, from the Downing Street memo, which you know about, etc., to the death of David Kelly. And basically, the rap on Kelly is the most telling piece of evidence that MP Norman Baker discovered was that the knife he supposedly used as he went to the woods, all depressed about being officially sacrificed by the British government as a leak that destroyed their case for war. All depressed, he went into the woods and he took a knife, he slit his wrists, and he swallowed some tablets from his wife's medicine cabinet. What Baker got the police to admit was that there was no fingerprints on the knife. Well, how do you kill yourself with no fingerprints, no glove? And the Kelly murder, and I don't say suicide, I say murder, because I really do believe it was a murder, as do 70% of the British public and a growing percentage of the opinion leaders in the UK. Who killed Kelly becomes a very important piece of business. And he becomes the poster boy, poster child, poster man for these, 100 or so other suspicious deaths of microbiologists. In fact, one of the things we mentioned to a member of Parliament who has mentioned to us that he'll be entering interviews we did for our film into the official parliamentary inquiry into Kelly's death and the rush to war. Basically, he said that the Kelly death combined with the death of Kelly's successor as the head of microbiology, the germ warfare plant at Porton Down in England. He died in a light airplane crash, a suspicious crash 11 months after Kelly. It's kind of mind-blowing. What we do in our film, Anthrax-War, and we do in our book, Dead Silence, is we begin to show that to work in this field of germ warfare is dangerous to your health because you end up killing yourself, suicide, the official story, or something else worse happens to you.
Yeah, I mean, also you got to look at what are these guys doing, and we decided to look at Kelly and what was his job in germ warfare, what was he doing, and what was he doing at Porton Down, this lab which is the U.S. Defense Department's, the United Kingdom's secret lab where they do all their germ research. And one of the things that we discovered was that Porton Down has got a long history of human experiments of testing bioweapons on volunteers
and chemical. They actually killed some people in association with that. I've had some of their family members on. They'd march them in, tell them they were going to test a bio, hit them with sarin or VX.
Exactly.
But expanding on that, I found they create their cadres of killers at these things too. They find scientists that believe the end justifies the means. And then sometimes they kind of wake up and realize what's happened. That's why they've got to be killed. But I just want to add, before we run out of time here, to blitz through other key points made in the film. People need to support alternative news, filmmakers, and cinema. And you guys are great filmmakers, award-winning filmmakers. You know, I went over your bio earlier. Anthrax-War needs to be seen, and we've got these up on Infowars.com. They're available. I want everybody to get the full picture in this film at Infowars.com. Anthrax-War, a film by Bob Coen and Eric Nadler. Again, available at Infowars.com or 888-253-3139. Mr. Coen, go ahead and finish the point you were making when I interrupted there. And then in the time we've got left, rattle off some of the other key points and interesting things, because there's so much in this film and then so much other stuff I'm sure you discovered that you didn't have time to put in the film.
Well, you know, we were talking about David Kelly, and we discovered, you know, that David Kelly was working at Porton Down, where, you know, he headed the microbiology department for many years there. And they were involved, like you said, in human experiments at Porton Down on these servicemen. And there was a huge police investigation by the local police there into these human experiments. And they were looking at scientists, and quite possibly, Kelly's was a target of this investigation. The other thing we discovered about Kelly was his relationship with the apartheid-era, South African apartheid-era secret germ weapons program. During the apartheid years, South Africa had a small but very sophisticated germ war program. And one of the aims of this program was to come up with something that they called the black bomb. And that was an ethnic weapon.
Race-specific bioweapon. Then Cheney then wrote about that. We're going to come back and discuss that after this quick break in the final segment. Cheney, in his September 20th, 2000, Rebuilding America's Defenses, said we need to legitimize the use of these race-specific bioweapons. So, gentlemen, I'm glad you got into that. I forgot to bring that up. And just amazing information. Of course, you interview the head of the South African program. It's Anthrax-War, available at Infowars.com. Folks, you got to get this movie. This needs to be seen by everybody. We've got to point out this false flag event.
Everything we said came true. Everything we've done has been right.
In closing, Mr. Coen, you were getting into Anthrax-War and race-specific bioweapons out of South Africa.
Yeah, one of the things we did is we traveled down to South Africa to see how the South African program, the apartheid-era program that was run there by a guy called Dr. Death, Voda Bassan. And during the 1980s, he set up a very sophisticated secret germ war program with about 200 scientists. And one of their main aims was to come up with this black bomb, an ethnic-specific bioweapon would target black people. There are a lot of questions about if they were actually succeeded in doing it. He claims that they never succeeded, but they were actively, he admits in his interview with us in the film on camera, that they did, in fact, were trying to develop a vaccine or something that they could actually give to women to make them infertile. And admits that he had working relationships with the U.S. government, with the British government. He visited Fort Detrick, the U.S. government germ warfare lab. He visited Porton Down in the United Kingdom. He admitted a relationship with Bassan. And he said, we were asked to develop this ethnic weapon by another country.
Israel.
That had a... Well, he didn't say. We had pushed him, and he did not say what.
No, but it's come out that he worked with Israel to try to sterilize the Arabs. Gentlemen, I've got to have you back up just on that because, as you said, this is a gateway, a portal into everything else. Anthrax-War, get it at Infowars.com, folks. This deserves to be seen. You can also get their book at their website, anthraxwar.com, but get the video today. Gentlemen, I want to thank you both for joining us. We didn't have a chance to hear in the final segment from Mr. Nadler. Mr. Nadler, great having you on as well. And I look forward to having you back up. Maybe in a month or so, we'll do 2 hours and take phone calls and get into all the other adventures and any threats you got or other things that happened along your way.
Thanks, Alex.
Great being with you, Alex. Thank you.
All right. Great job, gentlemen. Great film. I'm really impressed. You guys are amazing filmmakers. I admire you. Retransmission starts now.